opposite of fear is?
Love. Love.
On this country of mine, love's gonna live here. Yeah, things are gonna be the way they were before. Love's gonna live here again.
Love's gonna live here. Love's gonna live here.
Love's gonna live here again. There'll be no
more loneliness, only happiness.
Love is
Gonna live here again.
I hear birds are singing, I hear bells are ringing. Love's gonna live here. Bees are buzzing, so I know the time is coming. Hey, love is gonna live here again.
Love's gonna live here. Love's gonna live here.
Love's gonna live here again. Yeah, no more
loneliness, only happiness.
Hey, love is gonna live here again.
Love's gonna live here. Love's gonna live here.
Love's gonna live here again. There'll be no more loneliness, only happiness. Hey, love is gonna live here again. Yes, love is gonna live here again.
I'm a patriot and I love my country because my country is all I know. Also, I am Golden Rule Girl. So all together, let's recite the Golden Rule. It starts with do unto others. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Right now, we have Mary Moody. Come on up, Mary.
Good morning. You can't imagine how badly I wish I wasn't standing here, and it has really little to do with anxiety about public speaking. I'd rather be home knitting in front of the fire or carving another pumpkin with my children on the front porch in anticipation of their second favorite holiday. But here we are, and thank you for being here today. Wouldn't it be great if we were just here today enjoying this last Sunday of farmers market, buying homegrown, local, fresh produce, drinking some free trade organic coffee in front of the Brightbox Farmers Food Market, just enjoying the company of one another, friends and neighbors, and meeting strangers. But here we are today, and thank you for being here. My name's Mary Moody, and I've been involved with the Dubuque Peace and Justice Movement since I moved here as a college student. Can't believe it's 25 years ago. Back then, we were marching and vigiling and standing in Washington Park to try to get the U.S. out of Central America. Here we are today, same thing, in a different place in the Middle East. Thank you for being here, standing together. I left Dubuque for a few years and lived in Bolivia, and I came back from there having changed, seeing the poverty and the hope that I experienced there, and I joined the Catholic Worker Movement here in Dubuque. Since being a part of that movement and a part of the peace and justice movement here in Dubuque, I've come to know really well the human face of the war in Iraq and wars before then. Friends of ours from the Catholic Worker Movement and in the peace movement here in Dubuque have visited Iraq. Michelle Nar-Obed has been 5 times to Iraq with Christian peacemaker teams. She'll return there in November. And she comes back to share about the Muslim women's peacemakers who meet regularly in bullet-ridden, partly bombed-out homes. And they pray for us, Americans, and they pray for peace, even as they console one another for the deep personal losses that they've known being Iraqi women in the midst of a war there. Kathy Kelly and Chuck Quilty are friends of ours who have been numerous times to Iraq. They went ahead with Voices of the Wilderness, defying the economic sanctions that we first imposed upon that country. Remember that the war began long before the invasion. The harm done to that country has been long coming. And they tell us about the children, the women, the soldiers whose lives have been lost, whose lives have been irreversibly changed by our government's actions there. It was mentioned earlier, our own peace and justice organization brought the exhibit Eyes Wide Open to Washington Park a couple of years ago, and we all got to witness the stunning and somber effect of the war in Iraq, symbolized by combat boots and civilian footwear strewn along the sidewalks there. And just last March at the Imagine a World at Peace event, we had a display that featured the loss particular to Iowan families with large photos of those Iowa military who have fallen during this war in Iraq. So we all know the human face of war. You might call the victims of Katrina and the bridge collapse in Minneapolis collateral damage in the war in Iraq. Because as we spend billions of our tax dollars making war in Iraq and other places in the Middle East and even around the world, basic infrastructure and emergency services and other human social services are being defunded here at home, and people's lives are being lost daily. Most troubling, and also mentioned earlier, I know we haven't forgotten, that this war all began on false pretense. We can calculate the dollars spent, and we can even count most of the human lives lost. But there's no accounting for the lies and the deception that propped up the U.S. invasion of Iraq. They can talk about 9/11 and weapons of mass destruction, but it's all lies and deception. There's no accounting for indefinite detainment, for extraordinary rendition and torture of Iraqi detainees. There's no righteous accounting for the personal financial gains by some political leaders for the privatization of our war-making efforts. And what about the surge anyway? The only surge I've seen is in mean-spirited Christian fundamentalism and Muslim extremism as a result of the fear and misunderstanding that's been propagated by this war. It's often quoted in our struggles at Catholic Worker Houses of Hospitality that the poor will always be with us. But I ask myself, has it become such that war will always be with us as well? Today we're here to say no to any more of this war. We gather today with one another and with others around our nation to call for action to end the war in Iraq. For the U.S. troops, for the hope of our children, for our country's moral standing, and to show the true strength, leadership, and determination of the great nation we are, we must find the hard way out of this war. Let those in power know that we say it must not be any longer. Peace begins right here, right now, with you and me. So let's begin. Thank you again for coming. And please do your part to help end the war in Iraq.